Great to be connected again in the second session of IWBD Courage Talks. What makes these conversations meaningful is the opportunity to come together around what leaders are really navigating today, how we are keeping our people engaged, and how we are finding ways to move forward with courage, creativity, and focus. This session started from a simple intention, as I said in the previous Courage Talk session, to keep our community connected through relevant, timely conversations where leaders can learn from each other, exchange real perspectives, and take away ideas that can apply in their teams and organizations. And we'll continue this on a bi-weekly basis, keeping that exchange and momentum going. Shaping what's next, how leaders emerge stronger, is very much about moving forward with clarity, intention, and a positive mindset. We'll start 30-minute conversation with our speakers. Then we continue 15 minutes for your questions, reflections, and comments. So feel free to engage as we go. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by two leaders who are actively shaping their organizations and markets. First, Kane, Middle East and Africa Regional Managing Director at the Trade Desk. He's also an advisory board member at IWBD and our chair at CMO Committee, bringing a strong perspective on leadership, growth, and transformation. And Akshat Harbola, Managing Director for MENA, Pakistan, and Turkey at Spotify, leading one of the most dynamic platforms in the region with a strong focus on growth, culture, and people. Terry and Akshat, great to have you both with us. Welcome. And also we have Aida. She's the Assistant VP at Dubai Economy and Tourism. And thank you for making that surprise for me, Aida. Appreciate it.
I know, I was super last minute, but I wanted to make sure that I was here for you. Only for you, Ebru.
Thank you so much, Aida. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So my name is Aida Busaidy. I am a comms specialist and strategist. Been in the industry for a couple of decades now, without giving away how old I am. So I'll just assume that I'm youngish. I've been with the Dubai Economy and Tourism for a little bit over 12 years, coming to 13 years now. I currently head up two divisions, the social digital ecosystem. So we oversee over 37 channels globally in 13 different languages. So we pretty much run the social media for Dubai. That's a nice way of putting it. But we also play a very advisory role for other government entities, as well as internal departments on their strategizing of their social media across the board. And then the second department is the consumer advocacy department, which is heavily focused on curating and creating the right types of advocates program, whether you work with partners such as Red Bull. Also a very fancy way of saying that I hang out very closely with celebrities all the time. They're such a headache. It's not glamorous as I would like for it to sound.
You were on the cover of Vogue. Please don't be that much humble.
I know. I have to say, but I'm one of the nice ones. Let's just put it that way. I also don't have an agent or a manager. I agent and manage myself. But yeah, so we do a lot of that stuff as well, and we're also in charge of the movement, My Dubai and My Dubai communities. Terry, back in the day, was actually one of the core people, fundamental people who helped us jumpstart this initiative that actually came out from His Highness the Crown Prince of Dubai, Sheikh Hamdan's office. And last year was when we launched My Dubai Communities, because it was the year of communities as well. So the evolution has been very much about individual stories to being collective stories. So that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing, Aida, and thank you very much. I know you're super busy making the time for us. Terry?
Yeah, I certainly don't have as glamorous an introduction as Aida does. I've known Aida for a long time, and I still can never compete with an introduction like that. So I'm Terry Kane. I head up a company called the Trade Desk. We're a global ad tech company. We operate actually with most of the brands that would be on the IWBD. We operate, whether you know it or not, in the background, connecting advertisers with media publishers. So we're the pipes that connect the buyers and the sellers of media And we do it in a way which is very much AI focused. So we represent what's called the media dollar. So people that are buying the advertising, we represent their dollar to make sure that they get completely transparent media buying at the best of times. It's the best of disciplines. So I head up a team for the Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. And we're a small team, but we are very much the incumbents here in the marketplace. We have big competition in Google and Amazon, and we're the independent players in the field. So we've got a big challenge and a big excitement for growth in the market as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Terry, for joining us today. Akshat?
Hi, everyone. This is Akshat, sitting here in Dubai. So I run Spotify in the region. Spotify, as most of you hopefully know, is a music streaming platform.
Of course, all of our love brand.
Yeah, we're live in 184 markets, and me and my team here manage Middle East, North Africa, Turkey, and Pakistan. Dubai is our regional headquarters, and then we have teams based out of other markets like Riyadh and Egypt, and now we're trying to build a team in Istanbul as well. But Dubai is where we run the strategy and run the region out of, and most of our teams, 80 to 90% of the teams are based here. In my day job, I end up interacting quite a bit with artists, with some of the celebs, but not as glamorous as Aida. I try to stay in the background as much as I can because of the reasons Aida mentioned, and once in a while, those interactions happen, and then my teams spend a lot of time thinking about how our platform Spotify needs to be localized, what kind of local partnerships we need, how should we run marketing, how should we distribute our product, working with companies like telcos and so on and so forth, right? So it's product localization teams, content side teams, and then consumer side teams that are part of my team here. Super excited to be here and look forward to this session. I'm here to actually learn as much as I'm here to share.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And let's get into the conversation. In moments like this, what helps you personally stay in motion as a leader rather than stepping back, pausing and evaluating the situation forever? Because I see lately some leaders are like that, just pausing the budgets, activities, and campaigns. And how do they can survive like that? So what do you think? Aida, let's start with you. I know Dubai tourism and economy has amazing campaigns, projects. You are supporting the local businesses here. So let me hear from you.
Thanks, Ebru. Always putting me on the spot. So one of the most beautiful things I think, and having been in this industry for the 2 decades that I talked about, is that it's not our first resilience, I guess you could say, bumper. If anybody was here during 2008, 2009, the financial crisis was a really good example. Obviously, COVID was another one as well. The floods that took place in 2024. Obviously, these are very unprecedented times. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. Like, we are in the Middle East, so we've always been in a war zone, for lack of better terms. But we've always kind of avoided that. But I think one of the most important things is that the background of the UAE and Dubai specifically is we looked at flexibility, we looked at agility, and we looked at diversification much earlier on than anything else. And last year was the year of community, but the spillover of the community essence really came to play this year as well. And what we did more from a government standpoint was really to make sure that we facilitated all of these things in a much bigger way. So, of course, the 1 billion AED incentive plan that's just kicked in right now. From a federal level, from a tourism perspective, that's also kicked in. What we started doing right now, actually week 1, I think it was day 9, if I'm not mistaken, and I sent it in the group as well. We launched a platform called Dubai Info Hub, because there was a lot of confusion and people just sharing stuff, and a lot of the stuff was also being shared on WhatsApp. A lot of people were sharing stuff on Instagram, and threats of getting arrested and so on and so forth. But I think a lot of people also don't understand, like, you sharing sharpnels or sharing videos of where like a bomb is coming through or a missile is actually not good for your own safety and security. Like, why would you? So educating people is such a huge part of what we do as well. But the Info Hub, I think, has done such a phenomenal job in terms of just making sure that people understand, like, these are the types of things that you can do, and just to make sure that people are normalized, because this is the way that our particular part of the government industry works as well, while the military does their job. Beyond that as well, one of the biggest factors that we did is we started running a few areas of collective, I guess you could say, majlises across the board. And we did it with different groups of people. Like, we would have full-on like meetings with like the Red Bull team, or full-on meetings with like the YPO team, and full-on meetings with like creators as well. And we wanted to make sure that these guys are aware of, number one, what are the processes, listen to, and everybody's worried and everyone has questions, right? And they're basic questions, like, and none of them were related to, am I safe? They were like, wait a minute, we didn't know that your military was so good. Now what can we do? How do we support the industry? How do we support the restaurants? And the F&B sector, and I have to say some of the smaller retailer sectors are the ones that got hit the most. So there have been quite a few initiatives that we've launched to support the F&B sector. I'll maybe only highlight one just so that I don't hog up the time and the space, but the fine dining ones, again, it is fine dining and it is expensive, per person. It's, you're talking about an average plate of 450 plus, but the city has spent a considerable amount of time, policies, money, in order to engage with Michelin, to come to the city. Like, we were the ones that actually engaged with Michelin, and that's where everybody else kind of got through. And so it's also a reputation that we've built over the last 5-6 years approximately. And to lose that status means that we need to restart all over again. So we have to maintain that status. So we worked with the fine dining restaurants. We have approximately 60. We started with 5. Only 5 reached out and said, oh, we're really struggling. And then the other 5 saw it, and then another 10 saw it. They were like, wait a minute, we're also struggling. And so we worked on a framework with them. We said, okay, what parts of the menu can you actually engage with while still keeping a 5-star capacity, just making sure that there's footfall inside your restaurants. And we worked around a 30 to 40% discount on their normal menus right now. And we made sure that there was bums on seats in almost every single restaurant right now. And now they're fully booked. In some instances, we do have some of the smaller concept restaurants as well that were completely empty. And when they started speaking out loud, so we track everything on a daily basis. We track fake news, we track AI concept, we track pretty much everything. Once they said, listen, we have a problem, we actually, as DET staff, we do lunches and dinners. We take our teams to go and lunches and dinners into these spaces as well, and we communicate it. So it's quite a blended, I guess you could say, system of works, and we've tried to identify some very specific areas that need like immediate impact and help. And I have to say, like, in the last 3 weeks, in the first 3 weeks, I think, was a little bit of confusion, but the last 3 weeks have actually been a lot more clarity. Larger businesses are coming saying, hey, I want to work with you as DT because you guys are doing such a great job directly with the community and with some of these smaller businesses, but I'm also a big business like Majd Al Futtaim, and I want to launch a concept like Ma'an. Can we do it together? I'm launching a Primark. Can we do it together? So you're seeing a lot of that, like community to community. So it's like no longer an SME, it is a household name. So Majd Al Futtaim is a trusted name working with a smaller name. And then for us to facilitate those conversations together.
I think those are brilliant, especially the launch of Primark in the middle of all this turmoil, making a big splash.
Yes.
Seeing that global investment to Dubai is still continuing.
Yes.
I was sending those news to my also clients around the world to still invest in Dubai.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you didn't imagine this, this impact, but we are also communicating all this good news to our global investors to continue the business here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
One more Primark is coming. So if you have the money, they have the spot. You can go shop.
I did go, by the way. I love Primark. What's your point of view?
I'm not a fan of Primark, if that was the question. I've spent far too much of my life standing outside Primark waiting, but it's an Irish company, so I have to say that I'm thoroughly proud of it. So look, I mean, I guess, you know, I think we're all going to think back to ourselves where we were on February the 28th, and that's going to be, you know, the moment of kind of reflection for us. And I think about things in horizons whenever a crisis occurs. And you know, Aida is very much right. It's you know, it's changing every day and every week and every month. It's going to consistently change. But when I think back to the Saturday the 28th, I was actually in Belfast in Ireland, not in Primark, but in Belfast. And I got the messaging that, you know, from my family that things were happening, and my family was here, and I was on a business trip in Ireland, but I was not willing to have my family there by themselves. So immediately, obviously, all flights were cancelled, but I managed to get on a flight immediately to Muscat via London. So I was in I was in Ireland on Saturday morning, and I was in Dubai on Sunday morning. Coming over the border, and that was my immediate horizon. So the immediate horizon for all of us is always going to be about personal safety. There was the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the very bottom of it. What's safety for you and your family, etc. So that was the immediate thought for myself on this, my immediate horizon. The second horizon that I had was around my team, who were all in Dubai as well. So what was my team doing? Were they safe? And immediately we jumped on, you know, communications. So how do we set up communications between us to ensure that your safety and your personal safety is cared for? How our international security teams are advising, and how we're operating in an international security basis. So I was dealing and liaising with our US and our European teams to make sure that security and safety of teams was paramount. And then on day two, almost following that, we start to think about, you know, well, what comes next, and what comes for each and every one of us. And I think what was really important to us was the messaging that we got from, obviously, the embassies, the security team, but also the Dubai, you know, the UAE government around, you know, we've got this, guys. You know, it's not like we haven't been preparing for this. We're ready, and to have faith and confidence in the setup and the system that's here. And I took that and I utilized that consistently in my messaging, along with other community groups. You know, the IWBD is very important to me as a community group, not just for the mission of it, but for the connection to everyone else who's a senior leader within it, to get messaging from all of you guys. What are you thinking? What are you doing? And likewise with a few other community groups that we've got a member of, like the Emir group. So the Emir group, it's connecting with them and their leadership to understand what they're thinking and how they're contacting other senior business leaders and what the plans are around those. So we get this information for horizon number two. For me, it's, well, what do we do as a business, and how do we start to structure that business conversation? And that leads into week number two, potentially week number three for us. And we formulated immediately a plan B, because if you think about this, for us, we're part of a larger US organization. We've got 36 offices around the world with 4,000 employees, and the company, with all due respect to the company, has things happening in the US, which is probably financially more important to the company than what's happening in Dubai, where we've got 10 people. So the balance for me is always about, how do we manage that messaging internally to ensure that, number one, that the company is aware and confident that we've got this, and if we need anything, we're going to ask for it, but be prepared. Here's the steps and statuses that we're going to take on each horizon. But also, if we need something in terms of the business, then now is the time to ask for it. So that's when the plan B starts to come into play for us. We immediately stock up and structured, well, what is our plan B on commercial? What is our plan B on marketing? What is our plan B on communications to the marketplace? And that was developed within the space of a week. So we pivoted quite aggressively, as you can imagine, short term, away from the tourism industry, in terms of, because that's media and advertising is, for all intents and purposes, stopped in the tourism industry. We're fully aware that it will start again, but in the short term, that's not going to bring in income to support, revenue streams. So where do we pivot to? And that's when we focus on other parts of the market. And likewise, on the supply side of things, how do we liaise and work with our publishing side of the equation, the likes of Spotify and the likes of the supply side partners, the connected television teams? How do we work with them to create an opportunity for advertising to continue? Because advertising is a cornerstone of economy. And if advertising isn't running, part of the economy isn't running, and confidence isn't running, and that's not good for anybody. So That's the plan B in the commercial side of things. And then the next horizon is, well, what does day 1.0 look like for all of us? And, that's when we all start to get excited, and we all look at, the various different companies in the room here. Well, what does the next generation of this region look like, and how can we start to drive towards that and build for that next horizon, which is the future horizon? We're all very excited and committed, I think, most importantly, to that. So we've rode a strong wave here, and we're all, I think, we're not by any shape or form at the end of this, but I think we're a lot more confident than we were on the 28th of February, obviously, but also 28th of March. We're almost at the 28th of April, and I'm feeling like we have this much more under control than we've ever had.
Yeah. And before I go to Akshat, since I have Marianti on the line, here we shared the local perspective, like Dubai, how we are seeing. Marianti, you are sitting in EMEA as covering one of the global company. How do you see here? And I know you also have investment here in Dubai. I want to switch the perspective from your lenses. What are you doing? And Akshat, I will come here in a minute, because I don't want to lose Marianti, and also wonder her perspective as a CEO of a pharma company in Europe. How are you evaluating the situation, and what are you doing?
Yes, thank you, Ebru, and thank you, Terry. We're actually sitting on the opposite side, because our headquarters are in Japan, and if the US has difficulty or is not prioritizing the Middle East, you can imagine what's happening with Japan headquarters, where it's something completely unknown. I think they're now understanding the geography of what the area looks like, because the first question I got was, how does this impact the Russia-Ukraine crisis? So there's a lot of education happening with headquarters. I think that a lot of fear were the first things that came through from headquarters. A lot of not understanding. Dubai was always the stable area in terms of what it looked like externally. So the fact that there's a problem there. Middle East, yes, always had this connotation of instability or potential instability, but not Dubai. For us, I think the initial reactions were to secure that our teams were safe on the ground. And then, because of the type of industry we're in, we had to secure that we could actually get the product into the countries, right? So the supply of healthcare products into the region and ensuring that was stable was probably the biggest challenge in the first 2 weeks. Of course, now things are way more stable. There are options of how to enter with medicine and our products. There is for me, I admire the resilience of the people living in the region, and the willingness to actually demonstrate, that things carry on and to do things, right? To make things happen and ensure that everybody is fine. And for me, this is outstanding. So it really helped me better understand, the leadership that we have on the ground, the people, the quality of the people. And as I said, the resilience and the willingness to do things. There is a continuous fear, I would say, from headquarters. So there is a standstill on investment right now in terms of being able to pump more money into the region. But I do think this is transient. So I think that in a while, this may change, as long as stability, continues. And the ceasefire also gave us a good mood and a good feeling right now to actually ensure that we're, yeah. So it's similar like you, Terry, but just from, a different perspective, which is the Japanese one.
Thank you, Marianti. Akshat, how about you on your side?
Maybe I should provide the Swedish perspective, since we're a Swedish company. But yeah, I mean, if you have to dial back, what's it been, 7 odd weeks? I think initially, like, all of us were in a state of shock, right? So I can speak for myself and my team. We went through all the stages of grief, as they're called, right? Denial, anger at all the players, and eventually acceptance and moving on, right? So we were in the state of shock and disbelief. And I have to say, as a leader, I was, in the first couple of weeks, I was fairly clueless. I didn't know what to do because this was quite unprecedented. This was unfolding. We do a lot of scenario planning. This is not a scenario we were planning for. This is like the last scenario. So the first thing we did was, like all companies, we prioritized the physical safety of our employees and just personal connection. So I would have met more of my team in the last 7 weeks than I've had in the last 6 months, right? So a lot of one-on-one conversations, team conversations. People are also sort of, ultimately, everyone starts thinking, hey, is my job in danger? So you have to provide clarity that no, that's not the case. And as a business, we're actually doing quite well. It's not really impacted us in a big way. So I think the first phase was really, getting out of this state of anger and denial and getting into a mind space where we can actually operate and we can deal with this, right? And for me personally, that included just focusing on my own mental health as well, right? Because you got to put on the oxygen masks first before you start helping your team. I would say, if we take think from a business point of view, we're lucky to be one of those businesses that are structurally less impacted. We're a subscription business. We're not pro-cyclical, which basically means that if things go, things are great externally, our business doesn't go up in the same way. And at the same time, if things are horrible externally, our business doesn't go down. And in general, our business is holding up quite well. We're not pausing any investments. We're going ahead with pretty much everything that we were planning to do. But we're also fairly clear-eyed about the fact that we're in the middle of a conflict. Even if we're not directly impacted, there are second-order impacts. Artists are impacted. They're thinking about, is this the right time to be releasing music? Is this the right time to be talking about exciting things that they've been thinking about? Consumers are impacted. Consumer incomes are impacted. So there are second-order effects, right? So as a company, all companies would be doing this. We're doing a lot of scenarios in terms of, scenario A, how could this play out? Scenario B, how could this play out? We work with a lot of external firms. And my learning at the end of that entire scenario planning exercise was that nobody really knows what the scenario is. We have 3 scenarios, but a 7th one could play out. And you won't really know which scenario you're in until you're very much in the middle of that scenario, right? Nobody announces to you that you're in scenario 3 right now, even though all the scenario planning firms would try to tell you, here's the entry point for scenario 3. That's not how it works in real life. So what we are trying to do is trying to build flexibility and operational structures internally that we can execute, whether it's plan A, we execute on that. But if something goes wrong, we can easily pivot to plan B or C or D. So we are focusing on, and I think Aida, you also spoke to that, like flexibility and fungibility to be able to respond real time, which means in a matter of days to an evolving situation rather than sort of over a quarter, which was our original operating model. We would require a quarter to change course. Now we're bringing that down to a few days where we want to be able to deploy investments or change the direction of investments in a matter of days. And so building internal capabilities so that we're super flexible, super fungible, and super responsive to the external environment. That's been my focus. And I think a little bit of perspective on I play a regional role. So it's not, UAE is not just a consumer market for us, it's also a talent market for us. So we attract a lot of people here to service the rest of the region. And our thesis on that remains unchanged. And to provide sort of concrete evidence of that, in 2025, we used to manage 17 markets out of Dubai. Now we manage 27 markets out of Dubai. This is in Q1 of this year, right? And it's unlikely that's going to change. We're actually moving markets from Europe into our hub here. We're actually moving people from Europe, and those processes are underway. So our thesis around Dubai as a great talent hub and the place where we want to run the region from is a more long-term structural one. It's not really short-term. And even the worst case scenario is not really changing that.
Brilliant. I know you touched a little bit about how you are approaching communication and employee engagement to keep teams aligned and motivated and confident. I would like to couple this question to keep the time here. I know, Aida, you said you are taking your team out to some dinners and maybe stayovers. Can you elaborate that? And also, where are you intentionally investing in your own leadership growth right now? And how is that influencing how you show up and lead? Aida?
I like how Terry positioned it in the beginning. He was like, I think we all remember where we were on February 28th. The best image that I saw on February 28th was when Sheikh Mohammed was still out and about reviewing the horses because they had just arrived, and it was the pre-run, one of the pre-runs for Dubai World Cup. To me, and look, I'm a public servant. As a government employee, we have to show up. We are in service of people. So we don't have days off. We have work from home days, but it's no days off. We have to be available. So if you're going to show up, you show up for yourself first. You show up for the people that you work with, and you show up for the people that you service. So come Monday, because this was on Saturday, Monday morning, Assam, His Excellency Assam, was in the office. I was in the office. Sam was in the office. There was a few of us in there. It was quite empty, I have to say. But the first thing that I did, at least in the first week, was I insisted that everybody come online so that I could at least see everybody with cameras on. And very similar to what Akshat said, it's making sure that people know and just making them feel comfortable as well, because it's not a scenario that anybody is used to, right? I mean, you're not born, thank God, in the majority of the world, you're not born hearing, missiles fly on top of your head, right? It's not a familiar sound that people are accustomed to. And it is very scary, right? And no matter what you say from a reassuring standpoint at the end of the day, I also have one department has very young people. I mean, I have fresh graduates who also work in my department. So I probably could have birthed a couple of the people in my department. That's how young they are. but it's for them to feel that it's safe and secure, and my boss is there, but also to have them feel that it's okay. The other unfortunate thing is it was also Ramadan. And I remember, so beyond just doing the online ones, we also asked Assam if we could do a DCTCM one, which is mainly for the marketing team. And you could tell that there was a lot of confusion for a lot of people. And during Ramadan, which is a time when people come together, this is when you saw a lot of people disperse, right? Like you were told to stay at home. So I invited 30 of the women that I knew very well to come to my house. Some of them had never even been to an Emirati's house. I didn't know that. And these are people that I work with day in, day out. And we have something called ghabga. So, okay, for lack of better terms, and I think, we've discussed this before, suhoor is not the stuff that you do in the tent. Suhoor is what you eat like 45 minutes before sunrise. So the in-between meal between iftar and it's a gathering, we call it ghabga. So I actually held the ghabga in my house. I said, listen, guys, if you want to feel like you're home, and I only did it for the ladies because, it's much more complicated to do it with the men. And that in itself was a sense of security. And then the other thing that we also did is cross-collaboration between other teams as well. So some teams, as you can imagine, I mean, in the marketing sphere, not everyone is going to be very busy right now. We are in tourism. So it's not like we have a lot of people flying in for the time being. So we do have some people who are not as busy for the time being. So we've also engaged them in some of the activities that we're doing because we are actually quite active. I mean, us and PR and the business marcoms teams are the most active departments within, we have about 9 departments across the board. So we've actually re-engaged some of the younger people, the ones that are not working on strategic stuff, and making sure that we cross-pollinate some of the activities that we do and give them a sense of pride and leadership. And I think so I think the overarching message here is if you show up, everybody else will show up. And what we started seeing from week 1 to week whatever it is today is that actually the office is busy now. The roads are busier. It's because you continuously show up. And, if the leadership shows you that, we can walk around in the malls, we can sit in the restaurants, we can, check out Dubai Hills, and, we show up, then people, it's like kids. If you walk the walk, people will walk the walk. But if you say something and you don't do it, then people won't follow. So, yeah.
Well, Aida, very, very well said, because I truly believe energy is contagious, and in organizations, leadership set that energy.
Yes.
And this is something we are seeing very clearly, companies creating intentional moments for teams to reconnect, not just through communication, but through shared experiences.
Yeah.
So through GVGL, my own company, as you know, we design very creative offsite experiences where teams step away from the day-to-day and come together in environments here in Rais Al Khaimah, or also in my beloved country, Bodrum, Marmaris, Istanbul, Cappadocia. Not just to reconnect, but we also come together, solve problems. Those human connections matter. Like you inviting the dinner over, that's so beautiful. And also this kind of gathering and creating playful grounds, important to boost that creativity and growth. So,
it does. Yeah. And I think the consistency of it is also important, right? It's not only showing up when you feel, it feels like it's crisis today. No, there's proper set meetings that, so there, every Friday we all gather. It's 30 minutes. Do you have any concerns? 3 weeks ago, of course, the concern of homeschooling was such a big issue for some of the other parents as well. I mean, mine are, today I'm in a much better situation than in COVID. I have to say, if you spoke to me during COVID, like homeschooling was like the worst thing I could do. My kids are a lot older right now. They're also very tech savvy. Like I'm obsolete. And I run social media. Can you believe it? Like my kids are like, you are not cool. So when you hear that from your kids, you're like, how? People think I am cool. They're like, yeah, people your age think you're cool. But so but we're running programs for people who also have to, who are struggling with homeschooling. It's not an easy thing, right? I mean, like being at home, but thank God, alhamdulillah, schools are back on Monday, so at least they can have. But it's also good for their social and mental and emotional health as well, right? Like you know when you have, it doesn't matter what gender the child is, but I have boys. If they're indoors, they become like feisty old ladies. They need to go out and like release all that energy. I can't have them indoors anymore. So I like, if they can sleep overnight in school, that would be fantastic for me, really.
Akshat, what about you? Let me switch the line here.
Yeah. So. I'd say similar. It's been a lot of over communication on purpose, and it started with just a phone call with everyone around. What are you thinking? What is your family feeling like? And are you comfortable working here? Do you want to work from elsewhere for a couple of weeks, right? Those kind of things. Do you need help? Do you need logistical support? Because some people were just were in a different state of mind because their kids were reacting. They were okay, but their kids were reacting in a negative way, right? So I think initially it was just conversations. Over time, I put in place a lot of processes to structure tighter communications. So, in addition to the one-on-ones, I've now set up weekly business reviews so that we're tracking momentum on a high frequency basis. And more importantly, I mean, it's less about momentum. It's more important to meet each other and see each other and just talk about the business more frequently, doing more all hands. I'm encouraging the teams to meet, even though our office is shut. I'm saying, hey, why don't the marketing team can go out and have a catch up somewhere, and the music team can go out somewhere and have a catch up, etc. Even if we're not getting the entire organization together, different teams are getting out and they're actively encouraged to meet. And as long as they feel comfortable doing that, just go out and do your thing, right? And I think this communication also works externally. So making our, like I said earlier, our business is not hit in a big way, but it's important to communicate that internally to our stakeholders in Stockholm and to our stakeholders in New York, and let them know that, okay, all of this is happening, but actually the business is holding up, and the consumers are coming in the same way. They're consuming music because they need comfort, they need something to do while they're not able to commute and do the usual things that they do. And it seems to have worked. There's this weird metric that I track internally around execution momentum. It's the number of documents I sign, because I'm the legal signatory. I have to sign a lot of documents, right? So, and the documents that I've signed over the last 3 weeks are at all-time highs. So it's my leading indicator internally. My team doesn't probably know this, that execution momentum is actually at very healthy levels.
And what are you doing as a leader, leadership growth right now? Because I also see this during COVID, people, turned into themselves and, okay, we are most of us working from home. Now lately we are going to the office, but also I see in some conversations that people are also re-elaborating their career journeys and what am I doing right now? Do you do anything that you invest in your leadership growth or encouraging your direct reports in their growth journey during this time?
Yeah, I'm not reevaluating my career journey, but I am. I think as leaders, staying calm, being sort of in control of the situation and not panicking and translating that panic to the rest of your team, whether it's your direct reports or their reports, I think that's the most critical thing. And therefore, most of my investment is behind the scenes on things that I like to do, right? And those things tend to be very, very physical in my case. So my mental sanity depends on whether I'm running on a daily basis, kayaking and doing these kind of things. So I have been doing that a lot, and there are results in my body that are bearing the brunt of all of that action. But that's how I'm keeping myself mentally sane, and then sort of that hopefully that transfers to the rest of the team as well. So my mental sanity is the most important sort of investment in myself that I'm doing.
Absolutely. And Terry, and after this, I will open the floor to your questions and comments. Yes.
Yeah, look, lots of great points there from both Aida and Akshat. We do a lot of similar stuff internally. I'll not repeat that, but suffice to say, Horizon 1 for us is all about safety. Horizon 2 is all about structure, and then Horizon 3 is all about the future for us. I think one of the core things a core example that I did personally during this time is external communication. So whether that be an angle on why the trade desk at this moment in time, that's very specifically about the company, or it's about the industry itself and why advertising in times of crisis is critical, not just for brands but for economy and people and jobs, etc. Or I choose to pick a fight with somebody, and recently I chose to pick a fight with the Financial Times because of their crappy
I saw that
about Dubai, and I thought it was very, very poor taste. And I find that a lot of Western media has taken this angle of pure jealousy, etc., of the market. And as I've been here 20 years, I've got a view on this. And the reason why that's important is because the 10 members of my team have also committed to this market, and they've got a view in this market, and they want to hear their boss stand up and say, "Hey, that's shit, guys. That's a shitty example of why."
I wonder how they came up with that number, by the way. Did they count individually?
I don't know what they did. It was all rubbish, but it was more the phrasing of it, and you'd expect it off the Daily Mail. You didn't expect it off the Financial Times. But look, I mean, with that in mind, I will do that regardless. I'll pick that out on a normal Sunday or a conflict Sunday. I will do that regardless. But at this moment in time, what it did was the level of buoyancy that lifts people, during they seeing their leader publicly taking a stance on something which they know is wrong, and it gives them agency then to feel like they have a say in this matter as well, because they've been here and they're committed to the future of the market and to the future of the country as well. So having a public view on it and aligning my internal team so they know I'm going to do this, by the way. They don't own me. The company doesn't own me. I've got my view on the world, but aligning them to tell them, hey, I'm going to have to take a fight with Financial Times here, guys, and here's what I'm going to be saying. So just as an FYI, in case it does come back to you. because they're obviously a publisher of ours as well. And making sure that we're aligned with that. But external, having a voice, and having a voice beyond just your business, having a voice on the industry, having a voice on the region, and having a voice with other leaders, I think has been a critical part of elevating my team as well, internally and broader.
Amazing. Questions and comments from the ground. If you would like to share, feel free. So let's see who is the first. Courage is one.
I'll go first.
Thank
I
you,
think it was
Dr.
a fascinating insight from all the three leaders, gelled with what I was looking forward to listen to, because we have crossed the bridge. I firmly believe that. I'm a diehard optimist. And to hear from the leaders themselves as to the steps they took, validated our hope in this place, which I call home for the last 32 years. So certainly, yes, encourages us, and surely was very, very inspiring and very relevant. So thank you guys first of all, thank you, Ebru, for organizing this fascinating conversation. And thanks to the leaders who openly shared very powerful insights on how to take on. So we are ready. God willing, this will never happen again, but we are ready. Thank you so much. Very inspiring.
Thank you. Any other question? Or I will ask Ina, since you are also from another continent, how is things are being seen from Africa? What's your point of view? I also wonder that.
Well, it was very inspiring to hear from all of you, because well, we have a lot of information, and for us, like everybody in the world, it was quite of a shock, because everybody could see Dubai as a sort of paradise. And so to see that everything is getting smoothly back to normal, and that there's still a lot of courageous people, because from here, what we have heard is that everybody has left. So we can see that there's still a lot of people, and there's still a lot of work. And I guess this is a way for everybody to rewrite a new the history and have a new narrative. So we just know that nowhere is safe, and so we expect things to go back to normal, because we are all impacted in a way or another. And I wish you all well, very well, and I hope that this war will end for good. Thank you very much for sharing. It was a great experience for me. Thank you.
Amazing.
I think even just an insight. Last week, Aida, His Excellency Halal was at the Emir event, and they gave a really good insight last week that Dubai and the UAE, but Dubai specifically, has done a phenomenal job on its economic shift from obviously oil reliance to being a multifaceted economy. But that wasn't the secret of it, actually, and the secret only came to life through this situation. Is that Dubai and UAE has done a phenomenal job of changing the makeup of why people love Dubai. So originally you came here for the tax, and you came here for the opportunity, and you came here for the sun, and you came here for the jobs, etc. But now what's happening in this city is, and as you'll see, the majority of people who are staying here and will come back very quickly, is a much deeper connection to this city, this state, this country, than just the macroeconomic. It is a heartfelt, deep ownership and relationship to the UAE. Now, the big challenge with that is going to be is how do we have a longer life here beyond visas? And I think that's probably that next social status conversation that is on the longer horizon. If you think about it, post-COVID came the golden visa, and those that were lucky enough to get the golden visa. But what comes next? So all of us who are expats can commit the rest of our lives to the UAE, if that's the case. Maybe.
Trust me, that was week 2 for us as well. That was it was already in the discussion books. But like the golden visa, people thought that COVID was the instigator, but actually the golden visa program was something that we had already suggested and we're working on extensively. for a few years before, and what expedited it was COVID. So it is in the books, and that's all I'll say.
Great news.
Taking news, Ebru.
The signals Aida any soon?
I mean, he just quoted His Excellency, so that's a bigger quote than my quote. He's the big boss.
Well, thank you again, Aida, Terry, and Akshat. Really valuable perspectives. Let me quickly, wrap up. Leadership advantage today comes from staying connected, not stepping back, staying bold. Growth continues for those who choose to invest in themselves and their teams. And the leaders who move with clarity and strategic intent are the ones who shape what comes next and boost morale, motivation, and growth. And thank you everyone for joining us today. This is exactly what IWBD is about, bringing leaders together to exchange, learn, and stay connected. Before we close, just a quick note for what's next for IWBD. We are in final days of confirming the IWBD industry committees for 2026. If you know leaders who would like to join IWBD and add value to the industry committee discussions, I always believe good people know good people. So please feel free to extend this within your network. The nomination deadline is April 20th, and we have only a few seats remaining for the committees. And we will be hosting a launch session like we did in Drift Pitch. Let's see if it will be physical or not. We will watch the space. It might be hybrid or fully virtual. And we will announce that date soon. From May onwards, we will begin our quarterly industry committee meetings. I will also be sharing a follow-up email with today's session notes and the committee brochure. If you are very much welcome to extend it to your network. If this is, you feel valuable, I know so many of you were in the committees before, so welcome to, extend this invitation. Thank you again for joining IWBD Courage Talks today, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. Stay well.
Thank you, everyone.
You're amazing, Ebru. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.